Well, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Okay. You may hit me back with this. What did you have to do to prove yourself?
Oh, here we go. Sick. What's going on, you guys? Good morning. I hope you're doing very well. This is your boy, TOSKinger. We're back, man. We're back for another one. I need coffee. I'm upset. I need coffee. I don't know why. I just woke up in the morning and I had this hankering for coffee and I don't have any. So I don't know what I should do. I should order something, like order coffee from Starbucks or something, or I can go to the grocery store and get a huge fucking bucket of it, but I'm too lazy. And we're recording and I don't want to call anyone. So I guess I'm going without coffee. Today is shit. I'm pissed. Today, we're going to react to someone I find extremely interesting, and this is someone that I have just been introduced to recently. His name is Michael Franzese, and if you guys don't know who this is, he was a notorious mafia boss. I don't know too much about his story. I just know that he was in some real deep shit, and he made a fuck ton of money. So I want to listen to this guy talk. Now, this video is called The Boss of HELLS Angels, Sit Down with George Christie. Okay, I'm from Canada, and HELLS Angels are kind of just like everyone just knows who they are, and nobody fucks with them. They're just those people. Now there's charters all over the world. I don't know where this guy's from. Let's check it out, man. Let's see what these guys have to say. I think it's gonna be very interesting.
Anything and anybody.
Absolutely.
Mother, father. So what does that mean? You know, like, how would it come before your mother or father? Give me an example of that.
Cool. So Michael Franzese.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Always very good, very blessed on this end. And as always, I give God all the praise, honor, and glory, and thanksgiving for that. Always will. Today I have a very special guest. His name is George Christie. George and I go back about 30 some odd years.
No way.
We first met in Terminal Island, California, when I was in prison. And in Terminal Island, there's two yards. There's the North Yard and the South Yard. The North Yard was really, at that time, they didn't really have a federal jail out here. So a lot of people that were pre-trial would stay in the North Yard. They'd pick them up every morning, take them to their court case or whatever. And then you had the South Yard, which was mostly for the residents. I was in the South Yard. Everybody starts out in the North Yard, but then hopefully you move your way back to the South Yard, which was much better. I was in the South, George was in the North, but you're allowed to, intermingle. You go, to both places easily. No separation there. And we met and enjoyed the guy very much, very respectful guy. He was respected in there. And he was at one time the head of the HELLS Angels chapter out here in California.
Okay.
George lives out here now. He spent some time in Spain, but he's back out here in California now. And I had a great sit down with him. He's a great guy. Met with him and his wife, and we just went over things. And we had a real good time. And I think you'd enjoy the conversation. A couple of months back, I think I did a
Before I keep going,
about
I gotta wonder. I sometimes am curious about this, right? Because these dudes are such serious dudes and they've lived in such serious lives. What kind of things do you have to tippy-toe over? Like, you can't just say anything. Like, for example, if I were to talk to one of these guys and knowing how I fucking talk shit, I'd probably have a bullet in my head. I don't know, like, how do you gauge conversation? You have to tiptoe through it. You got to just feel things out. It's such a mind game of just push and pull. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Who knows?
The HELLS Angels and about the similarities between their group, their organization,
Quebec,
and Cosa Nostra, my former organization. And I think you're going to enjoy that. George and I talked about that. Very conversational. As a matter of fact, he asked me some questions, and so we went back and forth. I think you're going to enjoy it. George is, just a great person. He's pretty well known out here in these circles. He's now not a member of the HELLS Angels anymore. He left that life as I left mine behind. And so we had a very interesting conversation. So with no further hesitation, here's my guest, George Christie. So, George, it's been, I would say, about 35 years before we last seen each other under a little different circumstances, I would say.
Much different circumstances. I was down there at Terminal Island. You were there as well at that particular point in our lives. 1986, I was indicted and I came down there. It was interesting. It was a whole new world for me. I'd never been arrested before.
Really?
So I went big the first time.
Yeah.
Conspiracy to commit murder.
Right.
Wow.
Murder for hire.
And you were acquitted in that case.
I was acquitted in that case. We took it all the way. In 2011, I was indicted again. But just the circumstances and the way things were going, I didn't want to. I felt I could beat the case, but I dealt it out just because
What?
the dynamics had changed. My reputation was a lot more well-known then. And I had just, I don't know if you recall, I had carried the torch in the Olympics.
I do.
No
That
way.
was in '84, right?
1984. Yeah,
Dude, these guys are so interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to what he said. He said he could beat the case, but the dynamics changed, so he decided to just do it. I hope he goes into that further because I don't really get that. Obviously, I'm not in the situation and I'm not his lawyer, so I don't know any facts, but I'd like to know more, because if you could beat a case, why would you want to stay in prison to just do the time? Especially in North Sentinel Island, bro. What the fuck? And that's your first time going to prison? That's a federal jail. That's fucking insane. I mean, these guys are untouchable anyways, you know, but my point is like, fuck jail, you know?
the ATF had made allegations we were going to support terrorists
Right.
with weapons
What?
or whatnot. I never really got the whole story. And, you know, our position was to support the Olympics. And if the ATF hadn't have started that rumor, we never would have even got involved. We had no interest in the Olympics. But, you know,
No way.
along with another member, felt we needed to make a statement. So that's how I wound up in Terminal Island.
And the government was upset with you after you did that.
They were very upset, as they were upset with you.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I had been arrested probably 17 times prior to that
What?
stint in Terminal Island. But I understand, you know, George, I was on trial 5 times, and I beat them 5 times.
Right.
But the 6th time I said, my luck's going to run out. You know,
Absolutely.
even though they bring these crazy cases that they bring, but you got to spend millions of dollars, you got to spend all that time in fighting, and if you lose,
You're done.
You're done.
And this 2011 that
Really?
finally was ready to go to trial in 2013, I believe, or 2014. My daughter was one of the lawyers representing me. My daughter had gone to law school.
Okay,
and
hold on.
been working.
Wow. So because they have put all these charges on you, and let's say you were to fight them, you can fight them. He's fought them. Michael said he fought them 5 times. He says one day your luck is going to run out, and if you lose a federal case, you go to jail basically forever. I think that's what his point was saying. So wow. So even if you feel like you can beat it, and if you don't, you go to jail for a very, very long time. So I guess if you were to plead guilty to some of the charges, because you don't know what they might have on you, whatever. If you were to plead guilty to some of those charges, you would have a reduced sentence. Still, that fucking sucks, but I get it. You don't want to be in jail forever. Wow, holy shit.
to protect me and other Hell's Angels. But they didn't like the way things were going. I wouldn't work with them. And so they came with a superseding indictment. And in the superseding indictment, there were 3 mandatory minimums of life.
You don't want to roll the dice.
No, you
gotta
can't
fix
roll
his
the
camera.
dice. You know, they said, well, off 0 to 5, will you take a deal? And I did, and my daughter negotiated. I wound up going to Texas for a year.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't understand that.
Dude,
You
we're
know,
catching
you
your
take
back.
a plea,
There
you're
we go.
automatically guilty. It's not always the case, but you got to cut your losses sometimes because, you know, look, I say this: government doesn't always play fair. They got all the tools in their toolbox, and you know, to beat a federal case, extremely difficult.
It is, and they've got all the money.
They got all the money and all the time.
Yeah, and you know, people
driving
go
me nuts with
into
the blur.
the trial, and you don't know what the jury's thinking.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And you get people in there. One of the things we asked was Sons of Anarchy was very popular at the time.
One of my daughter's favorite shows. She
Sure,
loved
yeah,
all that.
and you
As a matter
know,
of fact,
That
she
show is
named
fucking
my
sick.
grandson Jax.
well,
because,
there you go.
yes.
Now that shows you how popular.
Yeah, and I said to her, wait a second, what's the tradition? You know, your father, you're supposed to name him Michael. No, Dad, Jax. That's it. She loved that show.
No way.
She loved it.
Well, you know, one of the questions was, do you watch Sons of Anarchy? I came up with this voir dire questions, and the Judge Wu thought they were brilliant, you know, and he was asking all the jurors himself, you know.
Really?
Do you watch Sons of Anarchy? And if they answered yes, the next question was, do you believe the leader knows everything that everyone's doing? Because the allegation
Ooh.
was I had ordered these guys to firebomb some tattoo shops. And on the contrary, I had told them, stay away from the tattoo shops.
Right.
And I had one in mind that I was pretty sure the feds had installed cameras in there.
Really?
Oh,
And I
shit.
did go in there one day, and the day I went in there, the camera just didn't happen to be working.
Of course not.
That's a break.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know. I think things are different now. I think people understand that sometimes law enforcement will go to great lengths to get people, and they'll break the law
Oh,
to
yeah.
enforce the law.
There's no question that they know that now, George. With all the
Exactly.
stuff that's been going on, they don't play fair. We know that, and you know what bothers me is, you know, just don't weaponize the Department of Justice to go after people that you don't like.
Correct.
And that's
They
that's
do,
what's
though,
happening a
man.
lot today. But that's a whole nother issue.
It's an ego game. This is what I'm just getting, right? They weaponize the law in order to get certain people, and they do that because if they were to put that guy behind bars, their street cred and their careers will skyrocket in turn. It's just a matter of fact. Like, we're not dealing with a system, we're dealing with people, right? Like, if we were focused solely on the law and people not breaking the law, and we had, let's say, like a fucking android in front of us, they'd be more inclined to follow the rules to the T. But instead, we have people who want to excel in their own fields. It's just, there's a bird tweeting loud as fuck. Dude, I'm recording. Fuck off. Yeah. Okay. Back to it.
It is another issue. It's not only a judicial issue, it's a political issue. And, you know, I want to ask you, I've been wanting to ask you this for years. Now, when you disappeared out of Terminal Island, the urban legend in the prison was you were going, you said, I'm going to give you guys some money back.
What?
Yeah.
And that never happened, right?
No, it didn't, and as a result, I wound up back in prison.
I know that.
Really?
No, but look, you know, I was playing a game with them. I was trying to manipulate them, and it caught up to me. But you know, at the end of the day, it was okay. But yeah, look, George, they claim that I have money buried everywhere, even
Well, I
till
know
now.
that. I know that
Even till
feeling.
now. I mean, they still bother me over it, believe it or not. And they won't believe it. I said, hey, it's been 25 years. Don't you think if the money was there, I would have made a run for it already? You know, oh, Franzese, you're smart, and we know that at some point in time, you know, maybe it'll be for your kids. I hear all of that.
Do you think
Wow.
that they're consciously, like, watching you all the time? Or do you think they go, it seems to me they go through spurts. Somebody may,
absolutely.
an informant may say, hey, you know, Christie's up to this again. I heard he's back in the game.
Absolutely, you nailed it. You know, I mean,
Wow,
and
eh?
it goes in spurts like that. You know, they're on you, and then people leave and they retire from the office. You don't hear anything. Then all of a sudden, boom, somebody says something, and it starts all over again. But, you know, I mean, I can't complain. Nobody's really bothered me, and you know,
And I'm with you. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I have friends in law enforcement now. And,
I do as well.
Why not keep those relationships, and that's it. But
Right.
yeah, let me ask you. You were in TI for a year. Were you on the north or the south yard? Did
Well,
you-
I was on the south yard. Isn't that where they bring you in? The north yard was like the penthouse.
No, it was reverse.
The reverse, okay.
Yeah.
Because I had a member there whose name was Guy. He was a San Diego Hells Angel. He was a leader. And, you know, this is also how things have changed. Now, he was there. He had pled guilty to machine gunning two rivals in another motorcycle club.
Oh,
and
shit.
They both died. Barry Tarlow got him 4 years.
Barry, yeah, he was great.
Remember
He
Barry?
was really, yeah.
He was my lawyer.
Could you imagine?
He's the one that.
Holy shit. They're actually loving each other on based off of, oh, hey, that lawyer's really good. Hey, this dude gunned down 2 people with a machine gun. He only got 4 years. Oh, yeah, Barry's great. That's fucking insane. Hey, man, good. That's a good lawyer, but like, holy shit. Talk about like a bragathon, you know? Holy.
That beat
Beat that
the
case.
murder rap.
Yeah, he beat that case.
good lawyer, yeah.
He, you know, they had these devastating tapes of me, and everybody that listened to the tapes, oh my God, you're done. You know, Barry Tarlow listens to them and goes, oh, I think I could beat this case.
Wow.
And I'm like, you do? Of course. You know, we talked about how much it cost you. So, you know, you figure in
Wow.
1986,
How much?
it cost over $500,000.
What?
Yeah,
You know, and to fight
What?
this case. And
absolutely.
If you don't have that,
Holy shit. Bro, you gotta be fucking rich to be breaking the law. Like, you have to be rich. $500,000 in 1980, what do you say, 85? $500,000. How much is that? Let's see how much that would be in today's day. Wow. Okay, so $500,000 in 1985 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $1.442 million today. Wow, bro. That's fucking crazy. Holy shit. If you're gonna break the law, man, make sure you make a lot of money breaking the law. Otherwise, you're fucked.
that money, you can't go up against the big boys.
No.
You've got to have that money.
No, and my case has cost me millions of dollars, and you know, when I think back, all the time and the effort I mean, Cammie, my wife, she was
Stressful,
my wife back
man.
then. We had just gotten together. I'm on trial for several months. You know, Rudy Giuliani put me on trial in that big racketeering case. I beat it, but at what cost? I mean, you know.
Do you find it ironic now? Giuliani's kind of on the you know, the 180 of the spectrum.
I can't believe it, honestly. It's, you know.
Some of the things he does, it just makes me wonder.
I don't know anything about this.
Is he?
You know, my only feeling with that is, and we.
Do you have animosity towards him?
I don't. You know, actually, I was on a radio show with him about a year ago.
Okay.
A good friend of mine says, Mike, I want to put you on the radio. And I said, yeah, let's go on. He says, one little caveat, Rudy's going to be on the other side of this with it. He said, do you mind? I said, hell no, I want to talk to him.
And
It's
how
been 30
was it?
years. It was great. You know what he said, George? And I have to say, he said, I'll tell you how far it went. He said, I've been watching you for 30 years. I tried to put you away for life, which is true. Told me he was going to give me 100 years at the day of my
Holy
arraignment.
shit.
And he said, but I think your redemption is genuine. I've been watching you. He said, so I want to compliment you on it. I said, okay. So we got off to a good start. We finished that. Everything's great. And then I write this book, Mafia Democracy, and my publisher says, hey, you think Rudy will write the foreword? I said, you know what, now you're pushing it a little bit.
Wow.
But I said, hey, I'm not shy, I'll ask him. I asked him, and he writes this here, tremendous foreword. See?
Wow.
Written by Rudy Giuliani.
Okay.
Yeah.
No shit.
And
Well,
he,
you know,
he does a great job on it. So, you know what it is for me? I am, George, what's going on today, anybody that's involved with Trump, they demonize this. So I can't believe half the stuff they're saying. And I think a lot of stuff's going to come out about this guy Biden. And again, without getting into politics, George, I got to tell you this. I had, you know, we'll get into this
hold
a
on.
little bit.
Before I keep going here, it's so interesting that you can have a mortal enemy 30 years prior, and then today have him sit. You can sit down with him, have a conversation, and he can actually sponsor your book. That is incredible. I'm trying to think if I could even, if I'm capable of that. I think as I grow older, I might be more capable and inclined to listen to my mortal enemy or something like that, and be like, where was your head at? You know, might be an interesting thing. I don't know. Kudos to Michael, man. Good for him and his forgiving spirit. It's interesting.
See your opinion. I don't know where you are politically, but that's okay. If
I
he
might
gets mad at
surprise
me,
you.
people, it's all right. But listen, this Biden thing, he's being accused of having shell companies with approximately $20 million going into bank accounts owned by his family, right?
Wow.
Fact. Suspicious bank records. He had 20 of these shell companies. I had 18 of them in the gas business. 18 shell companies. We didn't have a service. We didn't have a product. We did nothing. All it was collect illegal tax money that I was defrauding the government out of.
you weren't paying them.
No, I wasn't paying. We were collecting the tax and defrauding them, not paying them. We figured out a scheme. 8 years I ran it, right? This is the exact same thing. There's more evidence against them with emails and text messages and everything
No
else.
way.
All I had was a witness against me. They've got everything. It's an absolute racketeering indictment. I'm not going to say he's guilty yet because everybody deserves their day in court. But the evidence is it's an indictment without a doubt. I'm very familiar. I had 3 RICO cases, so I understand.
Dude, that's
how they
fucking
work.
insane.
But
I
so
didn't
what
even
I'm
know that.
saying is, obviously they don't want to indict the president. I don't think that's a good precedent anyway. But anybody involved with Trump, what they're doing to this guy and everything, that's why I don't trust anything at all.
It's true,
You know,
man.
I'm not a big Trump fan, but I will tell you this. This last thing the judge found him guilty of, and they fined him $368 million. You know, the thing that I find disgusting is that the banks got all their money back. He paid
No
all the
victim.
loans off. And, you know, how many people inflate their property or their wealth?
Everybody.
Every day, somebody looking for a loan is going to
It's
inflate.
business.
Absolutely. And there was no crime.
There was no crime.
He paid them back.
Paid them back, no victim, victimless crime, and the bank said they work with him again.
Absolutely. I
Oh
know
my
that.
God, no
How do
way.
you do this to somebody?
Yeah.
It's insanity.
You know, I have to say, in all fairness, I mean, he is getting
He's
pushed
getting it.
around.
You know what? And it doesn't even matter that it's Trump. It's anybody that they could do this to. It's just
So true.
dangerous. And you and I have.
It's that leftist media shit. That liberal side, they control the fucking world, dude. They're so power hungry. It's scary. And you know what? It is what it is. But, you know, kudos to Trump, man. That guy is holding strong. Any man that can persevere through bullshit like that, walk the streets without getting shot in the head, good for him, dude. I pray for that man, bro. Hey, he's doing what he's got to do. He's fighting for his people. He's fighting for his country. He's gonna make it. But I'll tell you what, man. These leftist media people, these leftist immoral Satanists are fucking crazy. Wash my hands of that conversation for now because your boy might get whacked.
A background, knowing how far that they can go, to let them go to this extent now is just, it's so dangerous.
No, I know. I had a 59 count state racketeering case in 2001, 2002. And, they just threw everything against the wall, thinking ultimately something would stick. And my ex-wife at the time was indicted. My oldest son was indicted.
That sucks.
In an effort to get me to make some sort of plea. And are you familiar with Tony Serra? He's a Bay Area lawyer. He did a lot of stuff in the 60s and 70s.
Know the name, yes.
He came in and was fighting the criminal case, and Barry Tarlow was fighting the bail. I mean, they wouldn't let me bail.
No way.
That was the wedge. We'll put the wedge on him.
They really
He's
wanted to
stay
fuck
in
him.
Jail. He can't fight this on the street.
How could they do that?
Yeah, same kind of deal. And Tarlow got me bail, and as soon as I got bail, they asked me, "Will you take time served?"
Wow.
So, what do you do? And, people jumped on me about that in my own organization at that time. They go, "You made a deal." And, well, you're looking at
What's wrong with that?
100 years, if they offer you time served, you take the deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's logic. But
You gotta wonder. This is the shitty, scary thing about this fucking world, dude. Is like you have your clan, your gang, whatever it is, right? Let's say you were to take some sort of deal. So he said time served, right? You're thinking about that. You're like, wow, this would benefit me greatly because I don't want to serve 100 fucking years in prison. You do that, and then your homies say, hey, you took a deal. You fuck with them, right? You're like, hey, like you're a rat. They'll say like, yo, you're a rat or something. You'll be like, what? Like, no. But at the same time, now, because your fucking own people think that you betrayed them, you got to worry about them whacking you. I say that they're the only upside to this life is probably the money, but even then you're like, what is it worth? Because if you go through this type of shit, you risk your freedom. And what does money buy you? Freedom. It's a quick, easy way, but like you're taking huge shortcuts, and those shortcuts could lead you in fucking jail. It's like, is it really worth it? Fuck, I don't know, man. I guess you got to try it out.
George, this last case that I took a plea on, I had been to trial 5 times. I never, ever was even 5 minutes late to court. Never. Faced the jury where I was going to get 100 years if I got convicted on the Giuliani case. Faced tons of time, never missed a court date, never was even 5 minutes
Good for
late.
him.
Anytime I got arrested, I showed up. So now this case, because I beat them so many times, they hold me without bail. Now this was a fraud case. There was no violence in the case at all, right? Defrauding the government. So, the 2 conditions they can hold you without bail is, number 1, you're a danger to the community. They couldn't prove that in the basis of my indictment. And number 2, you're a flight risk. Well, they could never say I was a flight risk.
Because you went to jail.
They couldn't say
you
I
went
was
to court every day.
a danger to the community. So you know what? They created a new statute. They said he's an economic danger to the community.
I've never heard that one.
Never heard it.
What does that mean?
You never heard it again?
No, I've never heard
Just that
that
one time.
And I follow all this legal stuff. I constantly listening to legal podcasts. My daughter's a criminal lawyer, constantly talking to her about things and if we should have did this and should we have done that. Second guessing myself even years later. But it's
they do what they want.
Yeah, they do what they want, for sure.
It's terrible.
What's the conviction rate? 98?
96, 97%.
Yeah.
What?
It's outrageous.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
So, George, you have a very...
The conviction rate is 96%? What the fuck? Okay, knowing that for sure, if I knew that I had my bread, I would I'd be a flight risk. I would bounce. I'd get the fuck out of there. So even if I had, let's say, depends, right? But like they paid $500,000. That guy, one guy paid $500,000 for a lawyer in 1985, right? I'd take that and I would move to like a place where they can't like extradite you. I don't know, like Thailand or some shit. Sayonara, bro. I'm fucking out of here. Knowing that I have a 96% conviction rate of going into fucking jail. Peace.
Colorful background, to say the least. But I'm interested in something, and I want to get into a discussion about it. About a year and a half ago, somebody wrote an article about the Hells Angels. I thought it was very interesting. And in comparison to my former life, because I don't like to use the word mafia, Cosa Nostra is what we call it here. And as I was reading what the rules or the policies are for Hells Angels, I was comparing it to, what we went through in my former life. So I want to, if you're okay with that, because
okay with
that was
anything.
just an article. I want to hear it from you.
Well,
All right,
No,
this
I
is
wanna
cool.
say
This is
that-
fun
question
shit.
number one. What do you want to know?
Okay, here's the thing. When I got involved in the life and I took an oath,
Right.
Halloween night, 1975, it was a blood oath where I surrendered my life to Cosa Nostra.
Sure.
Told, this life comes before anything. If your mother is sick and dying, you're at her bedside, we call you to service, you leave your mother, you come and serve us.
Insane.
We're number one before anything and everything. And idealistically, that's what I felt about the life. I mean, it was important to me. I had a very idealistic view. I was going to be part of something my dad was part of. It really meant a lot to me. How did you have that same feeling, that same brotherhood, that same feeling with the Hells Angels?
Absolutely. And I've talked about it recently. I've talked about it in the past. Old Man John.
And you were the head of the chapter, weren't you?
Well,
You were the boss.
I was a young guy in Los Angeles. There was a leader down there called Old Man John. He was one of the old timers. He was a boss. Had a lot of influence in Southern California, and he took a liking to me. And the night I got inducted into the club, standing outside, and by the fire, it was warm. I mean, cold. I was trying to warm up.
Do me a favor. Tell us about the induction ceremony.
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. Old Man John opened the door, and he yelled. He had a real gruff voice. He said, "Christie, get your ass in there!" And all the prospects, we all looked at each other, and I
kind of
knew,
creepy.
This is it. And I ran to the front door. I went in, and inside the room is the meeting room, and it's lined with Hells Angels, and everybody's sizing me up.
Could anybody attend as long as you're an angel?
You had to be an angel.
Okay.
So I've got these guys in there, their backs against the wall, and Old Man John asked me. He said, "Are you ready?" And I barely could say anything. I mean, that's how excited I was.
Insane.
I was just,
Yeah, I get it.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I finally squeaked out yeah. And he said, we come first before your father, your mother, and he went right down the line, talked about all the family members. And then at the end,
So crazy.
he said, "Do you understand?" And I said to him, "Yes." And he goes, "You don't understand anything yet."
Really?
And,
Wow.
I was in. He goes, "Okay." And he told one of the guys, he goes, "Throw him the patch." And, they threw me the patch, and I caught it, and I opened it up, and I extended my arms, and that was the death head, and it was staring at me. And it really looked like it was following me. I was kind of looking at it. I was looking around the room, and then, the old man says, "Well, put it on." And I put it on, and I was watching myself. This may sound corny or romantic to some people, but I was watching myself in kind of an image in the window. It wasn't a mirror, it was the window, and I could see my reflection.
Damn.
And
It's cool.
I felt I made this transition that night. As soon as I put that patch
Isn't
on.
that
I'm
crazy?
Sure, when you got inducted into the...
And that patch is everything, right?
it's
For a
everything.
Hells Angel,
It's
that's it.
everything. It's his soul.
All right, so talk about a ceremony, dude. The way he said it, it sounded very, pretty simple. But like the fact that there is like almost like a streamlined amount of people just at the table watching you going through this like moment where he throws him the patch, whatever, throws it on. Talk about being part of something. You do so much work to get into like this system, whatever it is, right? It could be like whether it's a gang or a job or a club, whatever it is, right? When people accept you and you go through that moment of, oh, okay, I'm fine, like all of my trials and tribulations and my struggles have brought me to this point, you're just like, oh man, I've done it. And it's like that tingly feeling. When he described that, I got chills, man, because I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. Hey, I'm part of something now. Try to take your head out of it, right? Like just think about the moment itself. Don't think about it like, hey, it's the fucking Hells Angels. Those guys are gang members, you know what I'm saying? Like just think about it through the experience. You gotta wonder wonder why the life is so attractive. It's because you're with people that put you in this situation. You're like, I'm finally part of them. I feel like I'm family now. It's a cool feeling, man. Don't get it twisted.
You know, it's now his soul. And, you know, I didn't know any mob guys till I went to prison. And then, you know, I met Rosario, we used to eat with, and, you know, these different individuals, and I started seeing a lot of parallels as we'd sit around.
It's the same
you know,
shit.
I don't know if you remember, I worked in the kosher kitchen with Sal. I don't know if
With Rosario, yeah, he was in the kitchen.
We
Right?
were in the kosher kitchen.
That's why we ate a little better. He used to bring stuff back to my
That's
side.
right. And, you know, he used to go upstairs, and we didn't have it like in Goodfellas where they had the stuff on ice.
Yeah.
But he would go upstairs and he would get the different things and make the different sauces.
I was so mad at Rosario because I never drank soda, and he got me hooked on
drinking
Diet
soda.
Coke. That is addictive. You know, he used to bring all the guys. Sal, why are you starting with me? But
I got off track, but
Yeah.
you know, absolutely. Your whole life is dedicated to the organization. I got a question for you. Like, I get asked all the time.
I wonder why they
Hell's
edited so
Angels
much
a
of it.
criminal organization. And my response to people when they ask me that is, it's not a criminal organization. It didn't start out as a criminal organization, but there are a lot of opportunities, and it's an organization that now has criminals in it. I don't know if that makes any sense. Or
Makes a
it
lot of
sounds
sense.
hypocritical, or you know, when people understand. Like, you guys didn't wear jackets, but everybody knew.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it opens a lot of doors, and it's like a carte blanche card.
Absolutely, and just to follow that up, you know, the night I took an oath, we didn't take an oath to rob, steal, murder, kill.
Yeah.
That wasn't the oath.
It was with each other.
That wasn't the oath at all. We take an oath of omerta, which
Right.
means silence.
Correct.
And you're not even supposed to admit that we exist. When you take that
Crazy.
oath, are you saying, okay, I'm becoming a criminal now? No. But do you do criminal activity as a result of being part of that life? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Which brings me to my next question. I was a recruit. The day that my dad proposed me for membership, because I'm sure it's similar with the Hells Angels. You just can't go up to
Well, I
an angel and
proposed
say,
my son.
yeah, you say,
Georgie,
You can't go up to somebody and say, I'd like to join. Somebody has to propose you, vouch for you. You have what it takes.
Absolutely.
In my case, was my dad. And then when I sat with my boss at the time, he said to me, your dad has proposed you into this life. Is this what you want? I said, yes. He said, here's the deal. From now on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're on call to serve this family. And he ran that down, and he said, but you're going to have to prove yourself. He said, when and if we think you deserve or you're worthy to become a member, we'll let you know. So for the next 2.5 years, I was a recruit. I had to
Wow.
do anything and everything I was told to do to prove myself worthy.
Hang around period, and the Hells Angels then a process.
I want to know what he had to do. That's the most interesting thing to me, to prove yourself, because I'm sure that they throw shit out of the gate at you, right? When you first start, probably starts with errands, like you're like an errand boy, you do a bunch of fucking running around, communicating with other members, you know, like collecting money. But then I'm sure as soon as they start to tell you like, hey, burn down this building for the insurance money, or hey, you got to kill this guy, and you do that 10 to 12 times, then hey, welcome to the club. You know, you've proven yourself. I'm sure it comes in waves. I think it starts with the errand boy, ends with arson and murder. I think, I don't know. Who the fuck do I know? I'm just guessing. Seems like it would be that way.
Prospective period. And then even as a new member.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Okay, you may hit me back with this. What did you have to do to prove yourself
Oh,
worthy?
here we go. Sick.
Certainly, I had to gain everybody's trust. And there were some things that I did that I probably wouldn't do again at this point in my life.
Interesting.
So I'll ask you the same thing.
We have the same answer, George.
Come on, man.
listen,
Specifics.
We're not fools.
No, you know, and when you reach that point, they say, okay, you know,
This guy's. And we
he
had a term
qualifies.
especially in our little region, Ventura, Los Angeles, and Ventura, was a gentleman named David Ortega. I used to call him David O. He was kind of he was a couple of years older, but you know, I was the boss, but he's the guy I went to. And bounced.
Like your consigliere.
Absolutely. I went and bounced stuff off of him. I said, what do you think about this, David? What do you think of this guy? And, you know, I've got a couple of funny stories about him. If you were okay, he'd call you a regular. The guy's a regular. I go, what do you think of this guy?
Interesting.
The guy's a regular, and that was the highest endorsement you could get in that outlaw bike culture at that time.
A regular to him.
We had another guy
Makes
that
sense.
ultimately became a government informant, a gentleman named Tony Tate. Hurt a lot of guys. And the same guy went to David. I didn't like this guy, and he'd been getting high marks from a lot of the guys. I went to David and I said, what do you think? And he goes, I don't like the guy. And we could never put a finger on it, so to speak. And finally David told me, he goes, you know what? I don't like the way he parts his hair. He's an old school guy that, and we talked about your father earlier off camera, I think it was. That's the way David was. He's just this old school guy that had their ideals. And he was in a motorcycle club. He was in the Question Marks Motorcycle Club when I was in high school. So he not only later became a Hell's Angel, but I mean this guy had a long tenure as a 1% outlaw biker. So yeah, they expect total dedication.
Well, let me say this. Again, getting back to the question, did I consider the Cosa Nostra a criminal organization? Well, we don't come in saying we're a brotherhood.
Right.
We have each other's back. We're a brotherhood. And like my dad would tell me, we didn't like law enforcement at all. My dad told me, he drilled this into my head from the time I was a kid. Mike, you can never be a cop. He said, because a cop takes an oath to lock up their own mother and father if they were to commit a crime.
Crazy.
How could you ever be like that? I said, I could never do that, So he put that in my head.
Is that true?
Right away. And so...
Sorry to interrupt you, Michael. Is that true? Damn. Yeah, that's true, because they do take an oath. Fuck, man. I don't know. Cops, man, I don't know. Like, you need them, Like, they're there for you when, like, the shit hits the fan. But some of them are just cunts. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Automatically don't like the police. We automatically didn't mind committing crime. So, okay, we didn't call ourselves a criminal organization, but we were criminals.
Right.
So I think it sounds... Again, and I don't know exactly...
No, you're absolutely right. You're not putting words in my mouth. I mean, you're absolutely right, Michael. You know what's also interesting for me? I came from... All my family, both sides, came from Greece. And when they got here, they made their way... They came, New York, and then they made their way west, wound up in Ventura. But as an Italian, maybe you can relate to this, kind of kept to themselves.
Yes.
They didn't trust the cops. I'll tell you a funny story. In 2001...
I don't think anyone really trusts cops.
One of the houses they raided when they were trying to put the case together was my mother's.
Wow.
And I can't remember if it was 15,000 or 1,500. We talked earlier about the memories,
Senior moments.
Yeah. It was cash. It was either 1,500 or 15,000. It was hidden in her mattress. She was still hiding money in her mattress because they didn't trust the banks.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I get it.
And
Let me ask you this. Some of the myths that maybe we can talk about, and one of them is this. When I got into the life, the night I took the oath, we went to have dinner afterwards, right? We have a banquet. All the Italians always eat, right? Wine, food, the whole bit.
Damn. Hey,
one of
one
the
thing.
soldiers came
Hold
in.
on. I love Italian dinners, and I love the people. I can't fucking lie to you guys, man. They might look at me like I'm some fucking half-breed, black, white, mixed breed mutt, but I will say, Italians, man, you guys have the best get-togethers. You have the best food. I mean, the food actually... Okay, you have fantastic food. Okay, I won't say it's the best, but you do have fantastic food. The way you guys feed people and you stuff us drives me nuts, but it's fantastic at the same time. 5-course meals and shit. Like, who does that? You do. Thanks, but like, fuck off. I need to walk tomorrow. But like the flowing of the wine, everything is just so fantastic. They dip their bread in the wine and shit. I'm like, yo, these people are cool, man. I'll tell you guys a story. I had a girlfriend, my first ever girlfriend. Okay, this was my first year of university. I met this girl. We dug each other. She was super cool. She was Italian and Cuban. She brought me to her parents' house, and parents liked me. No brainer, right? The mom was super sweet. She let me lie. I actually think she had a crush on me at one point, but her husband was a fantastic guy. Anyway, she's like, hey, I want you to come meet my grandfather, but hey, just to let you know, he's an old school Italian. And I'm like, yeah, he probably looks at me like I'm some fucking, like a mutt, like I said, right? I went in there, I get to talking with him. I'm an eloquent person. I speak very clearly. So he's like, hey, you don't speak like other black people. And I've heard this before. So I'm like, how do black people speak? And he goes, yo, yo, you know, like in his old Italian like style, right? And I'm like, well, I guess you're not surrounding yourself with the right type of black people, are you? And then he's like, oh, interesting. So I was very witty. I'm on my shit. And I also knew about art, so I started talking to him about Italian art. And then at the end of the night, he's like, hey man, do you want to like sleep over and, you know, watch movies? And I'm like, what? I said, with all due respect, my friend, absolutely not. And he laughed too. We said our goodbyes, whatever. But no, he's a sweetheart, man. Old school Italian guy. They were my girlfriend and her family were surprised I was able to disarm him the way I did. Your boy's a maverick. Anyway, back to the story here.
Which is an official position. That's the bottom ranking of that life after you take the oath. Comes in with a brown paper bag. And he says, hey, boss, should I give all the new guys their bag of money now? You know, the irony being, you think you come into that life and everybody's making you rich, when it's the other way around. You got to be paying up.
Right.
So people think that, and I will tell you this: when I went to prison, I didn't get a quarter from anybody. My dad went away; he didn't get a dime from anybody. He had a couple of things going on the street. Shylock money.
I wonder why they're like
ran
that.
out, that was it.
Right.
So it isn't that life takes care of you. I want to know if it's the same with the Hells Angels.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we were supposed to get $60 a month.
Really?
No way.
Stipend?
You know, sent to the prisons. And I'll tell you, you're lucky if you could get that some of the months. You know, you call home, where's my damn money? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
That's
similar.
shitty, man.
You know, it's interesting. You got inducted, you went out to dinner. You know, I got inducted in the club that night, or voted in, or however you want to describe it. We jumped on our motorcycles and rode.
Okay, I'm gonna stop one more time. So interesting. When you go to jail, they don't help you. They say you're indebted to this family. You go to jail, and then they don't give a shit about you. They don't fucking help you with anything. They don't give you a few bucks. I don't get that. You sacrifice your entire life to a cause, to the cause of the club and the family, whatever it is, right? And you got shitty luck. You go to jail, and they don't give a shit. They just say you're on your own. Fuck off. That sucks. That's not worth it, man. You do so much for these people. I don't know. Maybe they have another reason as to why they don't do it.
San Bernardino to a little old lady's house named Betty. She used to make our patches. And I actually rode out there. Betty sewed my patch, my personal patch, on my jacket. So it was, you know, it was just...
Is that the normal routine?
Well, you know, maybe if I was treated a little bit special because old man John liked me, as you probably... You know, it cuts both ways, though. Yes. You get people that get jealous. You got other people that put their arm around you. They go, oh, if old man John likes you, you got to be all right.
Yeah.
So it cuts both ways. But, you know, the interesting thing is, went to Betty. She was a religious woman. And you couldn't smoke in there. You couldn't cuss. And when you leave, no hot rodding down the street. That was the three rules.
Don't make noise.
I just thought it was really funny. So I went to Purdue. Betty sewed my patch on my jacket, and it was like a big deal, you know.
I can imagine.
It's very sweet. I like that.
Let me ask you, you're of Greek ethnic background.
Yes.
Do you have to be of any ethnic background to be a Hells Angels?
Can't
or
be black.
anything else?
Well, you know, it's interesting. There was a rumor that the motorcycle club that we've been at odds with for 30-some years, the Mongols, was started because we didn't allow Hispanics into the Hells Angels. Well, David Ortega was my right-hand man. You know, he's as Hispanic as you get. So, you know, there's myths and there's ideas, but I will tell you this, and it's the truth. There were blacks in the Hells Angels.
Oh, really?
There are no blacks in the Hells Angels. And what happened was, along with the women members, they got pushed out.
Interesting.
And when Hells Angels started getting attention of law enforcement and going to prison, the Hells Angels took on the prison political color lines. The whites stick with the whites, the Mexicans stick with the Mexicans, the blacks stick with the blacks. And of course we got painted with you know, racist brush. These guys are racist. And, you know, we used to go party at the East Bay Dragons clubhouse. Sonny Barger, who I had a long time relationship with. It was a love-hate type relationship. He was my senior, very powerful guy in the club. He would go hang out at the East Bay Dragons. They were from Oakland. So, were people prejudiced? I didn't get that vibe, but we did have the political prison
I
color
get
lines
it.
that we adhered to.
Well, for us, your father had to be Italian.
Right.
That's it. If your father
Now,
wasn't
not your
Italian,
mother, but your father.
Father had to be Italian.
Was it that way always? I was told that initially it was
Both.
they both did.
Yes, both, and then they relaxed it to just your father. From what I understand, it might have gone back for security reasons now to mom and dad. I haven't verified that.
They
but
need a
that's what I
new,
heard. Both have to be Italian.
Right.
But you just said something I don't want to overlook.
Person on here.
Women can be involved in the club?
They
Producer.
were at one time.
gosh.
But there's famous, maybe, well, there's two of them that were very famous. It was Garbage Head, who actually had the tattoo, the small death head. That was the first death head, and then, we made a transition to a different style. She had the tattoo, the small death head on her back. And there was another woman called Mother Ruth. And
These
she
names
got
are
that
crazy.
name Mother Ruth because she liked the little younger guys that would come around the club. But yeah, there were women in the club.
Wow. Well, let me clarify this. No women in Cosa Nostra in America. At least not till today. as
Not
far
even
as
when
I
their
know.
husbands go to jail.
No, but in Italy, yes.
That's what I
In Italy,
understood.
yes. Mafia, yes. But here, no women. But I have to say something else. Okay, you're the boss. I'm a biker now. I'm
Okay.
accepted, standard or whatever. I come to you, hey boss, I got a drug deal. I want to rob the bank, or I want to rob the government out of X amount of dollars. Am I okay to do that?
Well, I would probably immediately think, is this guy recording me?
Okay.
I'm a very paranoid personality, but I would probably say, from a leader and a political and whatever standpoint, if you want to go out and do that stuff, don't involve me, don't involve the club. We have a
Interesting.
very strict rule.
That's interesting.
That
Yeah.
there was a guy sitting in a meeting next to me. He had a cast on. Well, inside the cast was a bug. And
Oh, fuck.
he came to the meeting and he wanted, it was full of presidents, the meeting room. There's probably 15, 20 presidents in there. And he wanted permission to blow up the outlaws in Kentucky. He specifically, wanted to go after those guys. And we are not allowed to talk about anything like that in a meeting.
Oh, fuck. So tell me he got
No
off.
criminal activity can be brought
That's
up
interesting.
in meetings.
No,
And
we differed quite a bit in that regard.
is that
Yeah.
right?
Well, my boss
Okay, well,
said to me,
I wish he let him continue. Wow. So I want to know what happened to that guy. He got fucked up, I bet. So wait, if you know that's a rule and you do it anyway, like what happens to you? I would probably open his cast up and be like, hey, I'm gonna break your arm again. You ready? Whoa.
no drugs. We weren't allowed to deal with
Okay,
drugs. You
yeah.
deal with drugs, you die in that life.
Right.
But anything else, if he would have approved, as long as I get a kickback,
What can I make out of it?
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
25% goes up the top.
And
No way.
I think
That's
that
badass.
we had a slogan in the club. It was a sarcastic position we took. I don't know what year it was. It was the early '80s, but the organized crime list came out, and of course, Cosa Nostra #1, and the HELLS Angels were #2 at this particular time. Now I don't know who made this up. If somebody sitting behind a desk in Washington, but they had said, now these guys are becoming the mafia on wheels. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah,
before.
well, the thought
That makes
process
sense.
was it was a criminal organization, just did things differently.
Right.
I always thought that. But now some of the things you're telling me, I don't think so.
No,
because-
it was an organization established for motorcycling, brotherhood, but when you start getting all this police pressure and, you've got a job,
But-
I'll give you a perfect example. I got a guy, joins my crew in Ventura. He's a young guy.
Hold on. This is the thing though, right? They say it's not a criminal, ring. You don't join the club to be a part of this criminal thing, right? But you're indebted to the club. So if the people on top are telling you to do this illegal shit, you're gonna do it. Like you can't just be like, hey man, I'm part of the club, but like I don't want to do this illegal shit. So like keep me out of it. Like as a prospect, you want to get into the club, so you're gonna do everyone's dirty work, obviously. So this is what I don't really get about this. I don't know. Maybe I'm like missing a point. I just don't understand what he's saying here about that.
Maybe when I say young, in his late 20s, early 30s. He's got a regular job. He's a truck driver for a company, a distributor. He's distributing stuff, driving around. And the intelligence unit goes to his boss. Did you know so-and-so is doing this? And he's involved with these guys, and we suspect this is going on. He got fired. And that happened a lot to us. And, what does the guy do? he resorts to his wits on the street. You know, he's got to make ends meet. He's got a family. He's got to provide for. He's got
Sure.
kids and a wife and whatnot. So is it his fault? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because he consciously makes a decision. I can't make it here, but I can make it over here because I got some opportunities. I had some brothers over here that said this, and I think that it creates, in a sense, just the machine, the way it is, it eats itself up. It creates somebody that may turn to criminal activity.
Well, let me ask you this, because you said when you were inducted, I'll use that word, they said the Hells Angels comes before anything and anybody.
There we go.
Mother,
Absolutely.
father. Right. So what does that mean? You know, like, how would it come before your mother or father? Give me an example of that.
Okay.
Well, I
I
think
thought he was going to bring up what I thought.
you gave the perfect example earlier. I'm at the hospital with my mom or dad, and they're dying, and
Okay.
old man John calls me and says, get your ass down here. One time he called me down there. I'll tell you an interesting story. I walked into a room of guys talking, and some people out there may go, "Oh, Jesus, man, he just said they weren't a criminal organization," but yet this is transpiring. I walk into this room, and there's these guys in there, and they're talking about blowing these other guys up. So I just stop immediately. I just come out of the military. I worked for the Department of Defense at the time. My tenure with them ended when they found out I was leader of the Los Angeles Hells Angels.
No way.
They threatened to take away my top security clearance and whatnot. But anyways, I
can almost understand that.
really. So I walk into this room, and these are guys. This small group of guys are very energetic, down for the cause, and they want to blow these guys up. And then I start questioning them. I go, that's dangerous. If you thought about collateral damage, what they were like, what's collateral damage?
Right.
And I go, the innocent people around when you blow these guys
Yeah.
up.
Sure.
So I left. They went ahead, built the bomb, put it at this motorcycle place.
Holy
And
fuck.
it didn't go off. And because I had complained and I said I wouldn't participate, some of them went to John and said, hey, this guy might not be no good. He wouldn't get involved with us. So what do I have to do? I've got to go recover the bomb. And that's
No.
what I did. I went and recovered the bomb that didn't
So that
explode.
you were ordered? So
I was ordered by John to go recover the bomb. I said, why me? I didn't place it there. We got to make sure you're okay. There's people that are starting to doubt because you complained, George.
No shit,
So,
eh?
I'm sure, and as time passed, and I'm sure they did this to you guys, they create doubt, the cops, of, is this guy any
absolutely.
good?
Oh,
Is
fuck.
that guy any
Yeah,
good?
Part
they try
two.
to plant stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any tactic that they could use.
All right. Well, hey, listen, man. Wow. Okay. Cool. Not bad. I like that conversation, man. It's very interesting to see two opposite sides of the coin. You got the Italian mob family, and then you have the Hells Angels guy. And, seeing them have that conversation was interesting. They had a very friendly encounter. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that very much. I still have a lot of questions, and I feel like these questions won't be answered because I'm just not in the life and they don't want to disclose them. But, hey, I enjoyed that very much. Thank you, Michael and George Christie. I appreciate you guys having your interaction here for me today. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this video. All right, I appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow. All right, TOSKinger out.